It's time for another January wishlist update, and today we will be featuring the one, the only JVM running through Shadowflame Shard. My name's Ryan. I used to be good at War Machine. Welcome to Spell Rack. I am here with a man that needs no introduction because he's been playing War Machine forever. Jake Van Meter, welcome. You'll be talking Shadowflame Shard with us today. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm good. You know, you were the most handsome man in War Machine when I played 10 years ago, and you still are. How does that feel?
I have the tallest hair because Flanzer isn't around anymore. That's for sure.
Okay,
Cat, come on.
Jake, just in case somebody doesn't know who you are, can you give us a brief introduction?
My name's Jake Van Meter. I've been playing War Machine since the release back of Hordes back in 2006 when it was its own game system. And I've been playing Legion for most of my career up until the release of Mark IV. After probably the first full year when everything was finally released is when I made the switch hard into Shard.
You are the most loyal person in War Machine, right? Like it just is. Like
Faction wise, yeah.
Death, Taxes, and Jake playing Legion are the certainties in life.
Yeah. And I'll tell you now, with the game and I have my own philosophy and my own feeling about legacy factions compared to Mark IV factions. And
Sure.
in the onset of after 2023, when all the stuff was finally released, the power of the new factions compared to the old factions right there was very predominant. And that was the reason why I had to make the switch over to Shard at the time.
So discussing Shard, before we get started on individual casters' units, do you have any global thoughts on losing the spell rack and mats and rats being reduced? We're supposed to have less potent range attacks in the game. So do you have any feelings to start us off with?
A big part of Mark IV was the spell rack was to give these factions this depth to go to help shore up all their bad matchups. But the problem being is that the rack, while having 7 or 8 spells, however many it was, it ended up being that there was always the 3 or 2 standout spells that were always the slam dunk spells you took every single game, and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so the spell rack went from being this tool to just being my caster has this plus these spells.
Yes.
And it was Crix, it was Ghost Walk, Sighting, Touch Carnage, literally on all the casters.
Yep.
And it became very dull and boring. Shard, it was Silence of Death and Dragon's Blood everywhere. What it does is that while yes, you do have the option of taking something else, 80-90% of the times you didn't. I like the rack going away because now it's all about caster matchups. Are the casters being completely reworked? Are they going to change their current play style? Are they going to lean more into their backstory and pick spells like that? How are they going to? Is the rack truly going to be split between all the casters? Who knows? But now it's a difference between picking caster with all the abilities plus the good spells. Now it's going to be, well, X caster has this set of rules and spells. I'm going to need this. So instead of picking all your racks now, it's going to be which caster has the spells that's going to dominate the meta in the field this year. You pick that, and then you shore it up with your off list.
Back to how we did it in Mark II.
That's how it was, and it was good.
Let's get started on your casters. We'll start with Kyrax here. Do you think he needs any touch-ups in version 4.5?
Kyrax is just one of those casters. He gives you threat range. I never really felt like his threat range was oppressive. This caster is balanced. I think this caster is fine.
Well, I like him with Alpha Hunter. I think it makes him really interesting, and it's kind of a cool play style. At least sitting across the table from him. I like the mini game of you get to Alpha Hunter.
And then people take the builds where he tries to Arc Chasen or Bladed Gale, and it's a risk. And I never really like playing like that. I just like making the mitt where you just sit on the scenario zone. You're well, you're going to have to come in. Yeah, I'm going to get my Alpha Hunter. You just wait for it. That's how I played it.
All right, Lilith. She didn't see a whole lot of play.
Problem is that everybody had range hate on the rack or range reduction on the rack. And it's not like Shard shooting is strong. You have the Trike. The Trike's the standout model of the year for Shard. It basically propped it up. And then you had an off list with a Wyverns. The Wyverns are good too. But with the large range hate in the game, it was very hard to play this caster. Now, I will straight up tell you that this armor-piercing, crit stagger, cumbersome weapon needs to go. Should not exist.
I've played against her once, and getting my Colossals hit by that thing is nasty.
Yeah, it just shouldn't exist. It's just that having access to Deadeye and rerolls in the faction, it's just not a fun layering of effects to want to play against. It's one of those negative play experiences. What I would like to see on her is that you just, on her Hush instead of like giving her reload, you just give her a straight rate of fire. I don't know what that is. Maybe you give her shot types.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
so now she goes up and her shot types are like one grievous wound shot, or she goes up and she shoots like remember that the Archon guy with the arrows? Do you remember that guy? Were you playing back then, Mark III?
No.
There's a Thamorite Archon, and he shot. He like made clouds when he killed models. He did stuff
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
He's like a
Okay.
very like utility model. Like if she had shot types and did that, I think that would be cool. But I
Okay.
think the issue is that they don't want this caster to overlap with Sheris on shot types.
Gotcha.
That would be
Gotcha.
my
Gotcha.
thing.
That makes
Warping
sense.
Wind's good. I would keep that. And then
Yeah.
the field mark for running gun's weird because there's not a lot of outside of herself. Like if the rats are all going to go down, if everything's truly dropped, and the Hydrix rat drop down to because it's 6 right now, it drops down to 5. Let's just say it drops down to 5. But it's that model and the Wyvern and herself are the only models that gain real benefit from running gun.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's almost like why not just give a different field marshal? Just give her run and gun and then give her battle group like Repo 3 or something.
Yeah.
I like guaranteed movement rather than just conditional movement. It's always better.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I get the full draw having that negative play experience. It is pretty rough. Making Hush better, shot types, better rate of fire, give her a little bit more guaranteed movement. That does feel like it cleans her up pretty well. And you don't have to worry about rack 1 anymore.
I will say this. So I like her feet. So if you look at her feet really quick.
Yeah.
So one thing I like about this caster is she's control range 14. I didn't expect her to have control range 14, but I'm happy that she has it. The only thing I don't like about this feat is that what they were trying to do as a like go from different editions on is that they try to simplify everything so there's less accounting. So the game's easier to like keep track of. And this feat pushes enemy models, and then you got to mark those models that they have the minus rat with tokens. When realistically, this feat should push enemies and then just give your models in your control range +2 defense against range attacks. It would clean it up. You wouldn't have to mark any model to be very, very clean. That's
Makes
what I
sense.
would do.
Yeah.
And the push is low key great on these type of scenario elements where you got to be within 3 or in the terrain feature. Like this is low key a very good feat.
Yeah.
It just
that
was
makes sense.
overshadowed by Sheris and other casters this year.
Nixian seems pretty balanced.
Yeah, I think she's fine. I don't know what spells you would give her.
Yeah.
Off the rack. Like I was happy when they updated her back in January of this year and they gave her the stealth and everything because she was a Shadow Master, so it makes sense that she would have stealth. I would really like just an attack on the model. There's no reason for a model not to have some sort of attack. Pound 9, poke, does 1 damage. It does something like that. Like every model should have something. Like this model has to be able to physically fight something. So seeing 1 attack, POW 10, or just something, it should be there.
It is very funny that she doesn't even try to claw you a little bit.
Even the Cephalix Warcasters with their POW 10s have weapons. This caster used to be a Cephalix. She has 4 arms and a tail. Why can't she hit somebody?
That's fair. Okay.
But the rest of her abilities, Apparition, good. Steady, great. 15-15s, mid stat linus, whatever. Arcade is amazing. We know that. Control 12 is ass. For some reason, people were having a lot of fun making this faction, and they just were like Control 12 across the board. So I'm not sure why she's Control 12 for a spellcaster. That doesn't make sense to me. But the rest of the spell list mostly makes sense. I think Breast Dealer was added in January of this year when they updated her. I don't know how I feel about it. Like it's a useful spell, but the problem is that you have like Pythia now, but you don't really want to give her up, and people will snipe her out. So you have Vipexes. So what are you really doing to apply this on a regular basis? Unless you're going in to push into the middle and then Breast Dealer and then wipe out the unit anyway.
Yeah.
So I find it's just harder to use on a turn-by-turn basis. So maybe getting something a little bit better than that would be helpful. But that's the only spell that I have on this list that I'm kind of...
Yeah. Especially when she doesn't have a weapon. I think back to like Veil, right? Veil had her little orb that she could shoot one of her own guys and then make him an arc node. Is that too much for a caster like this?
I don't think so. So here's the thing is that people are worried about this caster killing you, but this caster, like, she's POW 13 on that spell. It costs 3.
Yeah.
Right? She's only going to get 1 fully boosted spray and then 1 either boosted to hit or boosted damage roll. So it's like, if you're squishy, yeah, you can die. If you're like midline stats with good armor, she's not going to kill you. And you can get it up to POW 19 with all the debuffs. And it takes a lot of layering. And like when you push all in to get that and you don't get it, the models that were there setting that up, they're all dead. So it's like when you go all in, you're going all in on it.
Yeah, makes sense. I like the Veil option because it gives her arc nodes and then you can actually do more with her. What about Rassic?
Rassic. So this caster's good. This was the battle box caster.
Yeah.
So this caster was balanced and it has a very specific like play cycle, like how you play them, how you move up the table, and what you're supposed to do. Right? Having battle plans is good. Battle formation obviously is taken most of the time until you need precision strike to kind of like move out through your models. Sidestep on a one attack model is kind of meh. The weapon's good. The feat is terrible. So this caster I would just redo this feat. Like
Yeah, I mean, it feels like your feat is you have battle formation all game.
correct. And then,
And
but here's the
because of
thing.
that, you don't get a feat.
So and then, but battle formation, you have casters like Asladov. That caster is bonkers compared to this caster.
Yes.
You can't even pair them together. There's no comparison. The other guy just outshines him. This feat is terrible. It needs a complete rework. And if the mat and rat drop is like universal across the board and everything gets it,
Yeah.
like what are you going to hit?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if this feat gave you +2 to attack rolls or something like that, right?
Now you're talking.
Yeah. And now it's an actual useful feat. You're also only control 12, right? So he's not spreading the entire battlefield. But yeah, I mean, like something like that would make sense and give him a little bit more flavor.
And then you look at his spell list. Like the Repo 3 was a good addition. It was like something to just try to like freshen this up and make it not be as bad, but it is still not a good feat. That's the
Yeah.
problem with this caster.
Yeah.
A Death March, good spell. Right now, Shard's overall problem
Mhm.
through their casters, through their spells, and through their spell racks is that they have this thing. It's called Oops All Upkeeps on a bunch of Fury 6 casters.
Okay.
And they just overburdened on their Fury all the time. And it's not good. And you have this caster, he wants to put out Warpash. He also takes like Dragon's Blood and Silence to Death and all these upkeeps, and you can't put them all out.
Yeah. That
Right.
makes
So
sense.
so Death March is a good spell, but guess what? You never cast it. You
'Cause
cast
you
it
don't
on the
have the
turn where you
focus.
really need the +2 and you're going to go in and try to potentially like make something happen or make a kill or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
Warpath, a good spell. I love Warpath. The reason why I liked this caster originally was because Warpath was you kill a model, you move 3. It's really good to increase threat ranges. People always have to worry about it. They got a position around it. It's the best spell on his list. This caster's busted as shit. We know it.
So how would you tone her down? She's already control 12, so the feat's small.
Did people bitch about her much before the trike?
I don't
I
think
think that's
as
the
much.
I think that
Yeah. Yeah. The trike comes down, she gets a little bit worse, and everyone's happy again.
so you just change. So there needs to be control feats in this faction. There has
Yeah.
to be. It can't be all offensive feats. She's only like you have Lilith kind of a control feat. You have her a control feat. That's it. The other ones are nobody else is like control. So you need to have this caster be a control feat, but maybe you make the feat change so that it doesn't affect these
Yeah.
or something like that.
That makes
Because if she's like making everything like concealed with mist and stuff like that, and the big guy's like gigantic towering through like buildings and shit, you should probably be able to see that thing
Yeah. And charge it.
and charge it. So I
Yeah.
think if you did something like that, that would definitely balance a lot of her issues. And then you can
Yeah.
charge the trike, and now it can't position up aggressively in the middle of the board, take all the space. Oh, this guy.
What about Valix? I liked him so much until I read his feat, and the opposing model has to be in the feat. I thought it was his own model.
That's definitely like a balancing factor because they probably overvalued how strong the feat would be in specific scenarios. Let's look at this model. If you just look at Valix's stats, his stats are stacked. His
Yeah.
stat lineup at the very top, right? He has speed 6 is whatever, but his Mat and Rat 7, defense 15, armor 17. Great stats. Troll, arc, whatever. But he's steady
Yeah.
and he has flying high. Like that is a stacked defensively. Like these stats are crazy on a caster. Like this caster will not die unless you put him in a position to die. He's very hard to kill. But the downside is that his offensive output is trash.
Yeah.
He has 2 guns that don't have pistol or gunfighter. Realistically, he should like go in, hit the guy in front of him, be able to take his thing and throw it outside of combat to pull people in. Like that's what he should be. He should be a gunfighter with this.
Yeah.
And it would make sense like thematically. But then he has to use his feat to become a weapon master for the turn. Like that doesn't make any sense.
And he's only a 40 mil, right? So he's only dragging 40. So it's not like he's able to drag 50. So giving him more utility is still only limited by base size.
Correct. And realistically, if you look through all the warlocks mirror a model of one of the units. Essex a death dealer. Pyrrhus is a stalker guy. Kyrax is a knight. Lilith is the only one that doesn't have anything. She's her own thing.
Yeah.
Ixion is a shadowmancer. So Valix is a lasher. So why doesn't he have lasher abilities? It makes the most sense. Like 100%, this guy is like the lasher. He should be a lasher. He should just have like range 3 drags or some shit like that. That's what he should have. And Blood Moon, the feat's meanie. When people come in and you're able to hit them with your crit AP heads, it's really nice when it happens. But that's all taken back by your minimal threat ranges, right? So you have Hunter's Mark. That's his threat range increase. So, and you got to hit with it. So who's going to cast it? Is it going to be your Arc Node? but he's not going to be everywhere. So is it going to be Valix? And Valix is going to spend 3 to cast every turn. Are you going to use Pythia to run out and do it? There's like a lot of conditions that have to be met.
Yeah.
And it's always risky when you're going for it. It's like my only negative about this faction is that you're always trying to throw out Hunter's Mark to like make plays happen. And sometimes like your whole turn will hinge on getting that to work. And if it doesn't work, like did you roll the boosted 4 and you just lost? Like it's just not something that you want to bank on. It just gets really frustrating.
All right, Warbeast. Let's start with the trike.
Okay, let's start with the trike. We all know it's overpowered. It's busted.
Yes.
It needs to come down. I'm not sure on what level it will come down. I do think that like the thing that
Should
that doesn't
this
make sense.
exist?
Yes, but at a cost. It's a point cost 0. Why is it point cost 0?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense to me. Why is this other tail point cost 0? Like they should have points allocated to them. It would make sense, right? Because if you go down, I think the other tails all have points to them.
Yeah, everything else
Yeah.
has
So
points.
why does that tail were they worried about it being too overcosted? That
Right.
they couldn't make it a 2 and a 1 or something like that? And realistically, like we know the negation tail is very powerful and it should have like an added point cost to it.
Yeah.
And this other tail should be reworked. Like nobody would ever take that tail as 0 points knowing that the negation tail exists.
No, not when this one is. I mean, this one is model defining ability to be able to just shut down spells.
Mhm.
Outside of that, what does it
just does. Well, the main problem first off was that you always have +2 armor on the rack. So you put that
Yep.
on it and then you don't, and then you're not able to affect it with spells. So you can't debuff it. So when you're going to try to finish it off, you either need to crank damage, send multiple models to finish it, or find a different way of preventing the healing to happen so
Yeah.
that you can one round it. That was the big problem. On top of that, too, it's fast. It's defense 11 for some reason. Sure,
Yep.
I don't care. And it just does everything. It does everything. I think the best head is the Purgation head. That the Eyeless Sight head was going to be the best one because of the TK slam and then the Force Barrier.
Yeah.
And everybody was like hands on head, like crazy about it. And then people realize after a while, like people are walking within range. Like that slam thing is something that happens mid to late game when stuff's already fighting. And what I'd rather do is have a magical weapon, which is good on a model where it basically makes your opponent think whether or not they're going to have an upkeep around near it. And that's very good. Because you go into stuff and just randomly you kill a bunch of stuff because they have upkeeps on them. Jake's is standing in the back and you're pushed up your trike and your trike didn't die and you're able to like get a position to where you can maybe trample to her and then you buy an attack because she has a synergy up and you're hitting her with boosted attack rolls or not even boosted, additional die.
Yeah.
And then you just
2-shot
right,
or 1-shot and she's toast.
This head is probably his best head.
Yeah.
Loki.
Yeah. Yeah. So he just needs I mean, it feels like I actually don't mind the points, 29 to 35. It just feels like maybe numbers need to come down.
When the
2
Archangel's
inches
here,
1 pound there.
The Archangel's 28 points in Legion. And this model in the configuration that a lot of us ran it this year was 31. And there was literally like night and day comparison. Like this model, amazing. Angel, meh.
Yeah.
Right. There should not be that much disparity between the 3 points, other than it's obviously a legacy prime army, and this is a new army.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that has to be done to this. I'm not sure what will happen to it or what needs to be done, but obviously it's too stacked on everything. That's the problem.
All right. How do you like the rest of your heavies?
So I like Ackless a lot. But the problem with Ackless is that he relies on Master of Ruin in order to really contribute damage himself, and I think that's a mistake.
Okay.
And that his initial damage for a character beast is quite low. I like his Mat and Rat and his defensive profiles, but just they're like, oh well, we're going to just tax you because you have Master of Ruin, and we're going to have your stuff be a little bit lower.
That makes sense.
So I just think that he just hits too soft. His Animus is his best part though. The cloud is great. You have certain casters that can take effect of the cloud wall. Overall, this model's good. It just needs more damage. It just doesn't do enough damage. But otherwise, it's a great model. Pointed correctly. This model here is crazy because I feel like in any other faction, this model would be crazy. People be loving the shit out of this model.
POW 13 Weapon Master.
And a smite on an extended control range with +2 armor, base armor 19. And the problem is that his shard there's very few lists that want to take this model. And it's kind of sad just because you want to take the trike, you want to take the wyvern, you need Hunter's Mark. So by the time you're done taking the blended models, now you're like, well, do I take units, which I need to control the board and score scenario, or do I take another one of these guys?
Yep.
And that's the problem is that you take this guy in any other faction, this guy would be great. And this guy is great. Don't get me wrong. This guy is great. It's just hard to get him into lists. I don't think anything needs to change on this guy. This guy just didn't see enough play.
He feels awfully cool. What could happen here is with a lot of most heavies in most factions are Mat 7, and they're all going to be coming down to Mat 6. If he stays at mat 6, that's sort of a pseudo buff where other heavies have come down, would make him a tiny bit better. We'll have to see what they do to him.
Yeah.
You think the Wyvern's in a good spot?
Oh, yeah, this model's great. No,
Okay.
no complaints on it. I hope
Yeah.
it stays the same. But I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, the gun, I hope that this model stays spray 10.
I mean, 19 points for his stat line, especially when you compare him to the new Orgoth Dragon. I think he feels in line at 19 compared to 21. Being an 80 mil, you do lose a lot. The Wyvern hurts, but he's 19 points, man.
And I think this model is good, a good model, and should remain as is.
Okay. Do you want to do anything to your Vipexes?
Yeah, I do. So nobody ever takes the 8.1 because there's just never really a reason to take it. The
Okay.
Ophidian Head, giving you the +1 arcane attack and repo 3, it's never taken.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
it shouldn't be 3 points. It needs to be recosted,
Yeah.
and it needs to do something better. It's just
Yep.
not good enough. The Asp Head is taken as a budget, but nobody wants to use this thing as an arc node because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
So you use it only in certain situations where you might start an engagement, and it hopes that after you push in with the Hunter's Mark and you push in, that he's not killed in the process. But like, you're paying for the base Hunter's Mark one because everybody takes Hunter's Mark, right?
Yeah.
Or the Viper Head. So if you want this thing to be a good fighter, you got to take the Viper Head. The Viper Head's 4 points. It gives you your +1 mat and +1 armor. Like,
Yep.
this thing's a 14-16. It's like a terrible nerf.
Yeah.
I think it should just be armor 17 all the time. Base. Like, there's no reason for it not to be a 14-17. It only has 26 life.
15 points when you get these things expensive, it needs some durability. So I could see armor 17.
And then you go down to like its weapon options. Like, the cleavers are a joke. You get the combo strike, sure, but it's only ever on the arc node, and you just boost hit, boost damage, whatever you call it a day. You move on with your POW 19. The impalers are great. Like, people will take the arc node head and take the impalers to have this be like a second line beater to go in and do the damage, and they
Yeah.
buff it up. So I can see that. But for 12 points, you get the arc node, the Hunter's Mark, and the impalers, right? For 1 more point, you could take a Hydrix, and the Hydrix is just a better fighting model all around
Yeah.
with the head loadout that you can take. But that's the Hydrix's problem that we can talk about.
Let's go to the Hydrix.
This model's problem is that it has no focus.
Okay.
You can try to do melee well with the Toothy Head. You can try to do range well with a Flame Head. And then you can do this Diviner Head, which I really love the Diviner Head because the Animus is great, Future Sight's great, True Sight's great. This head is very good. It's a
Yeah.
very good head. This head is its best head.
At
right?
3 points.
Definitely at 3 points.
Yeah.
This head, the problem with this gun is that it's a great gun. Counterblast is great. You can use counterblast on Lilith. I saw a lot of people do tech like that. So you just hit people with full draw when they come in. The problem with the head, though, is that it's range 14, but the blast damage is only 7. When most guns like this, the blast would be 8.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that its side guns on the acid guns are 13-7s. So it's like you're paying 2 points for the extra 2 range.
Yes.
Right. And then you take the other head, the Diviner Head, because it gives you True Sight, so you can see through clouds and you can see through stealth and stuff like that. So you don't need the Shadow Masters to go first in order to give you it, so that you can use them to clear off your Fury.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of wonky stuff with like the head options. And then you come to these like side heads, and like the ones that you take the Venom Spitter and you take the Flame Sprayers the most. Because it's like people tend to build this with like the Diviner Head and then a ranged option. So you're like boosting afterwards and making most use of its guns, which makes sense. And I would do that too. I mean, every once in a while you see somebody take a blockhead for the +1 armor when their points are tight, but it's just like this off weapon that's so low power. It's just, almost most of the time it just feels like you're just limiting your offensive output by just taking this to save points. And then you have the Gnashing Fangs, which seems just, is it good when you get to a caster or an infantry model that you need to keep there? Yeah, it's really good because I've killed casters with skill at doing that. But on this model, it just doesn't have the output that you need.
Yeah, still only POW 14. Do you think the faction pays a pretty big tax for having the solo?
I want to say yes, but at the same time, I feel like other factions I've played just like crank damage up to 1 million anyway. So why does it matter? We just negatively taxed by this guy all the time.
Well, that's why, like, I look at so many of your guys and kind of studying this with you. I keep seeing these heads and everything that are POW 13, POW 14, and yeah, you can get them +2 because you have a solo that can buff you. But I feel like it's kind of like Dusk, right? Like Dusk is hard to balance around because I have Battle Lust on the rack, and you have this guy that gives +2 damage to any Warbeast, and so all of a sudden anything's a beater. But now you're paying 4 points for this guy. You can only get, yeah, that's the thing, right? Is like, okay, your POW 15 goes to a POW 17 when your guy probably should have been POW 16 base to start with, right? It just, it feels a little pillow-fisted.
I think the Hydrix could just be the dedicated ranged Warbeast to the faction.
Yep.
And you can have different loadouts where, like, maybe one of the heads is always melee and it's assisting the guns in some capacity, but make this a ranged focus model and give it a focus. And I think
Okay.
if you do that, then the model will have a role and it'll just be better at said role.
Yeah.
Right now, it's like the jack of all trades thing. It can do anything you want it to, but does it do it well enough as like a specialized model,
Right.
such as this character beast right here.
Skrilla?
This model, my favorite model.
Okay.
I just like the update they gave to it in January was great. The ability to heal models around you, to bring back models, to give concealment to models around you, to have five base melee attacks, and then you have the spray, which is a magical spray. You cause corrosion on hit with that spray. Excessive healing is a great animus. Like the rework to this model, by far one of the best reworks they did. This is a very good model, and I don't think it needs any changes. I think it's a great model.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to your solos. Does anything need touch up in here?
Tons of this stuff does.
Okay.
Let's go to the Conjurer. So first off, this model is basically a horse, like the other incarnates, and it's not a cav model because it has no attack. Is my guess. So this model for 4 points, what it brings to the table right now is all like situational things, like Ashes to Ashes. It's like, oh, I'm going to set stuff on fire. Firestarter, it's a good ability. Is it backbreaking? If you're going to play like a set everything on fire style list with Execration and his Whip the Flames ability, then yes, then it's useful. But Purifying Prayers makes no offense because it takes off animi and continuous effects on their models and your models and all the models. And like that could be just something that gets rid of enemy upkeeps, something like that. There's like so many things that this model should have. It should have a melee attack. It should have Battle Wizard. It should have Howling Flames. Is this model really a 3-point model? Like, those are the questions that you have to ask. This model just, it doesn't do enough for the point cost. And that's the problem. Is that I feel like almost all of Shard's solos were overcosted by 1.
Going back to being what should be a cav model, and if it had Battle Wizard and some sort of melee attack, it gives it a role now, right?
Pythia at 3 points. This model is probably the top end of like good. Like it's 3 points is too realistically for its abilities and what it does, even though we know it's like the dedicated arc node. And in all the lists that I use arc nodes for like Nixie, and this is the first model I'll use and throw away to like try to make stuff happen. It's for 3 points, its stats are just stacked. Like you get to upkeep a spell, it's a channeler, it reposition 3, it has set defense, you can't knock it down, it auto hits. Like this model is stacked for 3 points. It's too cheap.
Yeah, she's great.
So this model, like just the abilities, if you were to keep it 3 points, which I hope it would be, its abilities have to be reworked in some capacity because it's just too cheap. And then on the flip side, like Regulus isn't like good enough to take into a list because he's like a weird, like controlling combat solo. You're not really incentivized to take models like this right now. And espionage isn't that good. You have to be too close, too many conditions. He's also like a 15-12 with 8 boxes, so he dies to anybody shooting and missing him and boosting a blast damage roll at him. Like just stuff like that. Like I've had this guy die to just blast damage rolls all the time. Kind of frustrating.
Especially at the 4-point cost, being a 15-14 doesn't feel like it would be out of the realm of reasonable. Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what his design is really meant to be. I couldn't tell you.
Riven probably okay, or do you think at 6 points it's too expensive?
It's too expensive. He was hard to take in a lot of lists. So my big issue with him is that if you notice, and I think this is just like my problem with like Legion specifically and now into Shard, is that they always have this thing where like it's like crit poison and it's like all these abilities affect only living models.
Yep.
Right? So again, Moral Fear. It's just one of those things where it doesn't work in half the game.
Yeah.
Why not just give him Gnawing Pain, right? Yes, it doesn't work against range attacks, but now like this model has a place, and when I'm playing against undead factions or I'm playing against constructs, like now is actively doing something. So I would make him 5 points, 10 health, and then change Mortal Fear to Gnawing Pain. That's what I would do.
Gnawing Pain worries me at 5 points, but I'm going to trust you because you've played more games of War Machine than I have. Scion? Hey, at least he has melee attacks.
Good model, point overcosted.
Okay.
If you drop his points, you can drop some of his life or something, or drop his map by 1 or whatever. But like it's at 4 points, it's just overcosted.
Get his utility for 3 points and give up some.
You take that model in one list, and that list is with Lilith to give her the reroll so that she hits the crit stagger. That's the only time you take her. Spinner 2 points. It's finally like a reasonable value for its like what it does. But there's so many other models in the game that like when this model used to be 3 points a spinner, you were like, how does this exist at 3 points and other models exist like this at 3 points and they're like three times better than this model. The only good thing, well, two good things about obviously Grim Returns is useful, right? We all
Yeah.
know that,
Yeah.
right? It's useful. The acid bomb's pretty good though
Yeah.
when it
I mean,
happens because it's a 12-10.
is the Paragon right at 5? I mean, it seems taken because the Warping Winds is so valuable, but 5 points still feels awfully expensive for what he does.
Make him a cav model.
Yeah.
Give him
That way
boosted
his
attack roll.
offense actually meet he probably goes to Mat 6 in the new meta, right? But you make him a Cav model and
Well, otherwise, I'd be more than happy to like reduce his stats and make him 4 points. Like because everybody takes one, right? And
yeah,
it's just that support that sits around that like late game runs and contests and just like mugs, like, kind of like mucks things up. And if it's cheaper, that means I can try to point in some models elsewhere. So that'd be
yeah,
my only thing with this is just being able to either like knock it down a point, reduce some of its ability, so we're not offensively like trying to use this model because this model's stats say use for offense.
yeah,
But it is like the rework was in the right direction. Taking away
yeah,
warping winds from the wyvern and giving it to this model was the right direction
yeah.
because it made people move away from the wyvern as this all-encompassing beast and just taking two of them and nothing else.
I also like if you did give him the boosted attack roll, it really turns on his kit, right? Sprint, cleave, get out, get back, keep your Warping Winds up, keep him safe. It allows you to play a mini game with him. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a ongoing joke in the Shard Discord that everybody just talks about the mad failures they've had of their Wraithring Paragon charging and needing like anything but double ones because the model's knocked down and they roll for the crit and miss and just a bunch of stuff like that. It happens all the time.
Yeah, no sprint for you. All right, on to units. What needs touched?
The Knights probably can come down a point.
Yeah,
It's only because like in Shard, they're not really known for their survivability, and this cadre brought the survivability aspect that they were needing. But I think overall, because these guys have battle driven, and because their mace goes to 16 and can be buffed up to 18 with Silence of Death, which is like the number one spell taken on the rack. They
yeah,
were just worried about this model's offensive output
yep,
if it had more than one attack.
yeah,
But now, moving forward, knowing that Silence of Death is not going to be on everybody's spell list, I
yeah.
think it would give way to you do two things. One, you either reduce the point cost by one, or you get this thing like a kick, power 12 kick.
All right, what about your little ninja, you guys?
The Stalkers are a great unit. No changes there. I think they're a good unit. The Wind Strikers, I wish that they had shot types because the problem puncture 1 damage, whatever. The POW 9 dead blade, whatever. I wish they had pistol. I think that would be nice, so they can shoot the guys that they're like right in front of them.
Yeah,
But they should have shot types. They should have a puncture shot, or maybe it's always puncture, but you get to pick like one or two shot types. Maybe it's poison or corrosion, or maybe it's causes fire, or there's just so many things that you could do that would maybe get these guys to be considered taken. If I had a unit of guys that were walking up that range 8 that were threatening poison shots at
yeah.
like POW 8, I would take it.
How do you like the shades?
They're great in the list that they're great in, and then they're not good in everything else. These
Okay,
models in the faction are the best contesting models there are because
okay,
the ability to move, place 4, repo 3, and then keep the rest of you guys safe and let the one go, it
yep,
just allows for turn over turn ability to contest, which is huge mid to late game when you're trying to score or contest the far zones. So they're the best contesting models in the faction. Then you got to look at everything else. Are they going to kill the caster? They threaten the caster. They could kill the caster if it's a low enough armor and things are too like bunched up around it. They don't have shield guards, but their offensive output outside of that, it's kind of
yeah,
lagging.
yeah,
So it's like very specialized, great contesting models. They do have a bunch of abilities though, right? So they can ambush, they have advanced deploy, their dual attack, their stealth, they fly, they position within 3, they can't be knocked down, even though they only have 5 life. My complaint on these guys is that they have 5 life.
yeah. Okay,
If all these other characters have 8, why do they have 5?
yeah, fair.
So I'd either want them to go up to 8 or have all these other assholes come down to 5.
Yeah, okay. All right, what about your more baseline units?
Yeah. All right. The death dealers are supposed to be this unit that brings terror, and they're supposed to be these like powerful troops. They have finisher. Like if this is going to be an elite troop that's like killing stuff, it should have just weapon master. That would differentiate them. That would make you want to take these guys over lashers.
Yeah,
Unyielding is kind of like I get the +2 armor, it's cute, but a 13-15 stat line is also pretty bad. So I would like to see like a 13-16 with unyielding
mm-hmm.
at a minimum on this model. I think that would be like where the stats need to be. Grievous Wound's nice. Obviously, having access to Grievous Wound's good. But a 13-15 stat line, 1 base attack, and it being finisher and not just weapon master. The reason why you don't see these guys as often is because they're just not as good as slashers. One
Yeah.
attack.
Well, and especially where you're going to lose the rack that gives you buffs, in every game. And so you're going to need different places where you actually have heavier hitters. So actually bringing up one of your units, helps offset that a little bit. The lashers we leave alone.
They're the best unit in the faction,
Okay.
hands down. They do a lot. The drag is essentially like one of the best abilities on this model. Range 3, the drags have won me so many games by just being able to charge stuff with Hunter's Mark and then place within 2 and then be able to get like a weird drag angle where you start fishing stuff in. Like these models are very powerful and they're very good. What would I change? I mean, if they're universally dropping Matt and Rad, I'm not sure what I would change.
Yeah. Matt
Like people
5.
play against them. I don't think people play against slashers and feel like they're absolutely overpowered. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a very good unit. Like this is like a top end unit in the faction, and they're very specialized in what they do. They can kill heavier stuff, not super heavy stuff, with buffs, but anything
Yeah.
can kill models with a bunch of buffs on them. These guys are just a little more sticky,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's where they're meant to be.
Well,
They're
and
supposed to get in there, just kind of hang out and like disrupt.
yeah.
And they do disrupt. They pull models around if they don't kill them. But I
Yep.
think right now is that you buff them up with silence death. They're mad 8 pow 14. Like that's a great stat. It kills medium infantry. Can sometimes kill like a cav model with proper buffing and setup. They can kill heavies like a low armor heavy.
Well,
Not
and
low
maybe
armor.
that is the balancing factor, right? Losing silence to death on these guys just makes them their base stats, and you don't get to buff them as often because not every caster has access to it, and that brings their lethality down. All right, what about the Cinderbacks?
It's a shit model unit. Nobody should play it. It's very specialized in what it does.
Yeah, the Choking Ash is
Choking
kind
at
of funny.
This is more of that like living model only thing.
Yes,
Warrior models.
yeah. Living warrior models cannot run or charge.
Which,
Yeah,
which is,
that's
don't get me wrong, it's a great ability. It's a great ability, but are you going to take it on a subpar unit? That's 9 points.
yeah. These guys definitely need. I mean, I could see a POW here, um, or a point cost reduction or something.
I could not tell you what that unit needs to be played. And you have this Quick Fang Master. The only thing I wish on the Quick Fang Master is that it either had gunfighter or pistol.
Okay, yeah,
That'd be my only thing because he charge in, and a lot of times you're trying to like. Sometimes he charge in, and you're trying to get your guys to kill the guy he's engaging, so that he could throw out and get the model S further.
yeah. He's got some good shots though.
He has very good shots.
Anything else, big picture?
I mean, overall, Shard is. I don't think Shard was the top faction of the year. I think a lot of people overvalued the Trike. The Trike dominated the beta because it was
Yeah.
the Trike and is an overstated model. But I think the second you take it away, if the January update comes and the Trike absolutely gets just stomped to the ground and it's no longer this model that you're going to be playing all the time, the rest of the faction isn't this broken faction that's like carrying
No,
anything.
not at all.
Purist
No.
and the Trike had a sub 50% win rate at WTC.
Yep.
I think what was the caster that won the most? I think it was Kyrax because Kyrax is just consistent. He's hard to kill and things like that. And I never see people complain about that caster.
No,
So
it makes
just
sense.
this faction is just and I said it when I was playing at Bokur Brawl against Crucible Guard and having access to warping winds and all these like defensive tech. This is like a more defensive Legion. You can still lash out and hit people with your threat ranges, but it takes a little bit more. And the reason why it takes more is because you have more conditions that have to be met. And basically, you lose the threat range to have more defense. So you have the Paragons, you have like all these abilities that you have high defense, but you don't have the ranged attacks as plentiful as Legion does.
Yeah.
Like the Nis Raptors, I miss those things. Those things are unhinged models. Those things are so good. I miss Ravagors, range 14 gunshots, like AoE 2, 3, or whatever that is now. Like that model was so good, right? And I miss stuff like that. And this faction doesn't really have that. I mean, it's a melee Legion faction that's more defensive. And because it's more defensive, you have to be more critical in your engagement turns to position properly to get the best alpha. And then you're punished if you don't get it.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a fine line. Well, it definitely feels like Trike comes down and it feels like everything else needs to stay the same, or it feels like they need a few touch-ups here or there with the Trike coming down to keep them afloat. All right, man. I know you'll be playing Shadowflame next year because unless you go back to Legion, but you don't.
I'm playing it now, and
right?
I'm not really enjoying it.
It's not like you
It's
faction
different.
hop,
It's
so
so different.
I know you'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's sad.
And well, look, if you're happy for the Trike to get nerfed and you get to play other stuff, then Godspeed.
I like playing factions that are balanced, right? Yeah, we know when models are good or too good. Just like when we were playing last year into the old Mastodon and it was pooping on everybody's face, shooting you from like a million inches in one rounding stuff because it was slamming you, knocking you down or whatever. That model was crazy. It was not fun.
Yeah.
So this year, unfortunately, I got to play with the model that was unfun.
All right, Jake. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.